Welcome back to the Vendor Showcase. I have with us here today Sean Reyes from RecallMasters. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. Always a pleasure to be with you and the entire community, talking about the things that help us be successful in our day in and day out routine. So happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about who is Sean Reyes and who is RecallMasters?
Yes, so I'm an old dog in these games, but I will tell you, I didn't start off in automotive. Well, I'll take that back. I started off in automotive when I was in high school. I rebuilt a 68 Chevelle from the ground up, a complete restoration of my mom's car, and fell in love with automotive. I probably took 2 or 3 periods a day of auto shop back when high schools were offering that. And I had dreams of going to Detroit and designing the next evolution of vehicles. But then I ran into classes like thermodynamics and all the engineering classes that you need. And it was a quick reminder to me that maybe I'm not going to get to go to Detroit and design some of those cars. But
that's the same dream, by the way, when I was growing up.
I think it's a beautiful dream to have those, aspirations as a young kid, because eventually what it did is it pushed me into a second love of mine that I had, which was writing. And that evolved into working in the healthcare sector for many years. I did all the marketing for several technology companies, .coms, right as, the internet started to boom. That's how old I am. And then I had a client that was in automotive, and it introduced me back into the automotive community, loved it. And then I've been working for other vendor affiliates for the course of probably the past 20 years. Everything from on the retail side of the business to dealer marketing, to now moving on the data and on the recall side, because that was a crisis beginning to hit our industry and consumers in general. So it brought me back full circle almost to a mission of trying to serve a greater good. And I couldn't think of a better way to bridge together that mission of serving our community and automotive together. Why not recalls, right? So here I am with RecallMasters. We've just now entered probably our 7th year together. We're pioneers in the recall space. We were here when nobody was here, when nobody really understood the value of recalls. It was the low reimbursement option for dealers who needed to get to capacity, and so much has changed. Obviously, reimbursement has changed. The attention that it's gotten from our federal government, federal agencies, from the OEMs, and now dealers are looking and seeing not only ways that servicing more vehicles and writing more RO tickets, but also recognizing that there's a connection between ongoing servicing and the relationship that you will have with those customers when they make their next purchase. So we are in that mix, and just so excited to really talk about where we're at and where we're going, because we are starting to break out of this cage of just recalls from the standpoint of one of the really secret sauces to what we do is buried in the data. And I know it's probably boring for a lot of folks, but data is really the key if you want to be successful in finding these consumers. You got to find the owners of these vehicles, right? So it's not just recall data,
Right.
It's owner data. Where do they live? How do they communicate? Do you have their emails? Do you have their cell phone numbers? Are there other things that you can do to really connect with these consumers, so you're not throwing marketing dollars away, right?
And here's what I see. A lot of the OEMs struggle with that. They may know who the current or first owner is, but when that car changes hands, I mean, let's face it, the car on average is on the road over 12 years. I think it just crossed the 12-year mark. How do you reach out to that second and third? The OEMs have not been able to do it.
No, and that's why they're partnering with us. I mean, I have quite a few dealers ask me, how do you, we're okay, we're good. We're using the factory program, and that's okay. I mean, use us to supplement the factory program, because the reality is, it's not going so well at the factory level. I mean, they'll say, 1 in 5 cars on the road today have an open recall. And that's an awfully big number. The truth is, it's more like 1 in 4. And the difference is that the OEM is only mandated by the federal government to track original owners. So when you throw in second, third, fourth generation owners, you throw in the fact that cars are lasting longer and exchanging hands at much more rapid pace. You layer on top of that the pandemic, and now people can't buy a new car, so they're holding onto that car even longer. And then layer on top of that all of the recalls that went by last year that went unrepaired, on top of the previous years unrepaired, on top of the previous years unrepaired. It is 1 in 4 cars on the road today have a dangerous recall. And I'm not talking about the volume knob pops off on the radio. These are imminent dangers for all drivers and those who share the road. So even those passengers in your vehicle or passengers in the adjacent vehicle next to you, these are very dangerous recalls. But it turns out that doing the right thing by these owners is a good thing for dealerships. It's very profitable as well. And the OEMs as well as state legislators are mandating better reimbursements so that dealerships begin concentrating on this. And I know there's a technician shortage and there's part shortages, things like that kind of do limit your capacity. But when you look at the opportunities that really are in front of you to go back and service vehicles and invite consumers who lost faith in your dealership, right? They flock to the independents. Here's your chance through a recall to not only invite them back into the dealership for an authorized part from the factory and certified technicians, but to show them a heightened level of customer service experience that your dealership wants to really leverage as you begin to keep these and retain these relationships. So retention is huge on the OEM side. So all of these things are not, recent trends. They're things that probably over the course of the last 6-7 years have really revealed themselves. But certainly in the last year and a half since the pandemic began, we've had I think with the exception of 2 weeks where everybody kind of panicked.
Right.
Ever since then, it's been nonstop. New dealers kind of recognize that they need to supplement the factory effort with something that would really, connect all the dots for the consumer. So we have that fully outsourced recall department that the average dealer needs, who is very tight on staffing and resources, doesn't want to spend 15 minutes on the phone to walk through the consumer, like what they need to do and what's wrong, what is the recall all about, and are there parts available, and do I get a loaner car, and how long is it? Like those things just take a long time, and most dealers just don't have the resources to kind of devote to that effort. But we do, and we can spread the cost across a very large group of dealers. In fact, we service 9 out of the 10 largest dealer groups in the nation.
Wow, that's a lot of sales going over the curb.
It's a lot. I want to get to 17,000 dealerships. There's not a dealership out there that couldn't utilize our services. But at the same time, that's up to us to go and create better products, more compelling offers. And so we're continuing to do that. And I think this next year will unveil. In fact, there's something I'm going to show you today that every dealer can benefit from today. So
what's I find mind-boggling is that when you think about the number of cars on the road, okay, if an industry very recently sold 17 million cars, okay, not everybody on the road has a brand new car. So that means that's a fraction of everything that's out there. And now when you look at double digit, 25% or 1 in 4 of those cars need some type of a safety recall. The opportunity is incredible. And then, as you said, you multiply it where the reimbursement rates are higher now than they used to be. it's an incredible opportunity, because if I'm a third owner of a car and that car has a safety recall that's needed, and I don't necessarily know about it, and somebody reaches out to me, because when I hear recall, I think free to the consumer, right? But in reality, because you get another bite at the apple, yeah, a lot of them is free to the customer, but there's also a lot of service opportunity that's picked up on those calls. So if you reach out to me, offer me something free that enhances the safety and or performance of my vehicle, and I bring it in, and it turns out that, you know what, there is another issue that's going on that we could catch now, or an issue that maybe we should have caught before, it's in the shop. You've already earned my trust by getting the car there.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you're there for that consumer at their moment of need, and certainly a safety recall is at the top of the list of things that should matter to the consumer and to the dealer, servicing that vehicle and taking care of it. And when it comes to, again, I think, so in a snapshot, in fact, if you want to show that explainer video, right now, I will pick up the discussion after, because I want to just start with, in a simplified presentation, what is our core value proposition? Because we can go deep dive into the weeds if you want to, but I want to make sure that everybody really understands the simplicity of what we're trying to present to the consumer and the model that we're really trying to, now behind the scenes, right, there's a lot of, you know, the data, the technology we can get, but at the end of the day, we're really about a simplified solution. I don't want to point fingers at whose fault is it. Is it the government? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the dealers?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we want to facilitate solutions and recall compliance, right? Taking care of that vehicle and getting it serviced. And we need to unite, not only as dealerships, as factories, as the government, but consumers need to get on board too. So let's start with that explainer video, and then we'll go from there.
To quote a famous guy, let's go to the videotape.
More than 1 in 4 vehicles on the road today has an unrepaired recall. OEM efforts have fallen short, not only because it takes persistence to connect with consumers, but because it's nearly impossible to locate second, third, and fourth generation owners. That's where we step in. Using data, technology, and communications, RecallMasters connects dealerships with 3 times more owners than the factory, not only from your DMS, but prospects who have yet to service with you. Making driver safety a priority not only benefits consumers and protects the OEM brand, but unleashes impressive service and sales revenue opportunity for your dealership. We are the preferred partner for several manufacturers and 4 of the nation's top 5 dealer groups, supporting all major brands, most of which are too busy with existing operations to attend to the flood of consumer inquiries about recalls, the repair process, to drive the vehicle or not, whether parts are available, scheduling the appointment, and on and on. We'll serve as your outsourced recall department. We'll lift the entire burden from your shoulders, delivering multi-channel, multi-touchpoint customized ownership communications to our dedicated call center that walks consumers all the way through the process, even scheduling the repair appointment directly onto your scheduling platform. For consumers, the one call does it all process makes it convenient, resulting in more repair appointments. All the peerless data, technology, and communications. A turnkey recall department for less than half the cost of a full-time BDC agent, preserving BDC resources for activities less resource-intensive than recall management. Let's get started by looking at the opportunity around your dealership. Provide us a few details and we'll run a recall opportunity report for your PMA and beyond. But hurry, consumers are looking for an authorized service center to address their recall. Safer vehicles, better informed consumers, and empowered dealerships. RecallMasters, the auto industry's recall solutions leader.
We're back. See, so that's really the simplicity of what we offer now. Again, behind the scenes, there's lots of stuff going on. At the center of all of this, right? So we're building an outsourced recall department for the dealership, right? So that includes all the data to locate these owners and the VINs and where that VIN is probably sitting in somebody's driveway. It's all the recall data as well. Not only the NHTSA data, which is publicly available, but all the voluntary recall data, right? And there's kind of some eyebrow raising when we talk about voluntary recalls. Now, here's a fact. As cars become more complex, right? The software and electronics, it's taking longer for NHTSA, right, our federal agency that's overseeing recalls, to open investigations and perform investigations. Okay, what used to take a week, right? Let's go back to the days of Ralph Nader and the Corvair. It didn't take long for you to figure out the rear end was going to lead to a gas tank explosion. But today, these are very complex machines. So these investigations take a lot longer. So you may end up with a vehicle that you think is safe because you did a NHTSA recall check, but in fact may have a voluntary recall that doesn't yet become a NHTSA recall until the investigation is complete. So a good portion of those voluntary recalls fall into a risk factor of 3, 4, or 5, which is the highest risk factor to a consumer. They are dangerous. Some of them are not. The volume knobs do fall off on some radios, but we're talking about the 3s, the 4s, and the 5s, which are the birthplace for tomorrow's NHTSA recalls. And we feel that not only does the consumer need to know about some of these dangers, but also unsuspecting owners or potential buyers and shoppers. So dealers should also be aware what they're taking in on the lot at trade-in, especially those off-brands. They don't have a database readily available to them if they're a Ford dealer taking a Honda in at a trade. Right. So if they're not partnering with us to get that data, or one of our enterprise partners to get access to that data, they're only seeing NHTSA data. So it's very dangerous. So when you combine all the data points that we aggregate, all the technology that we're going to display this data through that fits within your existing workflow, right? We don't want to come in and disrupt dealership operations. We just feel like you need to know when there's a recall on a vehicle that's coming into your service drive. I mean, how upset would you be as a consumer if you just had your vehicle serviced at one dealership and then another competing dealership reach out to you to tell you that you have an open recall? And you go, well, I just had it serviced over at the dealer ABC. And they go, no, they should have taken care of that recall, but they didn't. So that leaves consumers feeling a little empty about their experience at your dealership. You're not willing to take care of me and my life and my passengers. Like that's a big letdown. So again, that technology, in fact, I'm going to show you something that we call the Recall Department webpage, which allows dealers on their own website to offer VIN check for recall and retain that traffic on the site as opposed to pushing it off to the factory site. This is something that not only provides a recall check for on brand, but all the off brands, right? You're going to be a beacon of safety for everybody in the community. The more times you touch these folks, the more they trust you and eventually purchase their next vehicle from you. So they will then continually service from you. But the last piece is the communications. That is the last mile of not only notifying that people have a recall on their vehicle, but also having the call center as a single, one throat to choke, one call does it all. I want to be able to have, in fact, we send out as part of the communication. So you see like a snap pack mailer. These are pretty commonplace in the recall world. But the phone number that we have on here rings to our call center, and they'll answer the phone like it's your dealership. They will say, who's this dealership? They'll say, Century BMW of Huntsville Recall Department. How may I help you? Oh, I got this notice. It says I've got a recall. That agent will pull up that recall locator code and walk the consumer through all the recalls on that vehicle, the remedy, and again, connect with some of the dealer amenities. So this is really key. Do I get a loaner on that recall or don't I? Well, that's dependent on the dealer. It's also at times dependent on the recall itself. In some cases, a dealer may find, I'm going to go take a flatbed a truck to go and pick up that vehicle because it's unsafe to drive. So this is where the nuances of a recall and what it means to the consumer really matter. But at the end of the day, none of this is impacting dealer operations. We have a whole call center that will completely walk the consumer all the way through, even including scheduling the appointment on the dealer's scheduler.
So we're talking dealer branded.
Dealer branded.
The tool covers every make. And here's the part I like, all right? Because we've all experienced calling into a store and the wrong person answering the phone, the calls being transferred 2 or 3 times, the wrong person interrupting the phone call. It's a frustration setup. So if I'm responding to a real tangible offer on a safety or performance issue with my vehicle and I call, I'm speaking to a trained, knowledgeable agent who represents the company that you've marketed for. And here's the beauty. Here's what I like. You see everything that's pertinent to that person's mailing on that call. So it's not something where let me check, let me get back to you. No, you've got all of the data in front of you to be able to have an intelligent conversation that inspires a tremendous amount of confidence on the consumer end that, you know what, I've called the right place. These people are professional, they know what they're doing, and they're here to help me safer. Wow.
And you're almost explaining exactly why there's a disconnect between the factory effort and what we're doing for dealers. Because the reality is recalls are a national issue. It's with a manufacturer and these are the issues. But all of the resolution is at a very local level.
Right.
It's that last mile. Like, and so even if we're communicating with snap pack mailers and emails or texting, if the consumer then has to re-engage a separate, entirely different system to schedule an appointment, to understand how long is my car going to be, are parts even available? You don't want to communicate to consumers about a recall if the parts aren't even there available. So that's included as part of the scoping that we're doing for dealers. Is we're spending time to say, you know, and communicating with dealerships, you know, which recalls require a lift or no lift. For those that have mobile repair, how many of these recalls can be repaired in the customer's driveway? Like a lot of airbags, we have tons of our clients are focusing on repairing airbags as far away as 100 miles.
Wow, that's a far away.
If you're a dealership that really focuses in a rural area, you'll go how far to go get that business, right? So for some of these folks, that's exactly, so that's where, as part of our scoping, before we sign up any client, we want to better understand how do they currently manage those recalls? What's their traffic look like? Which days work best for them as far as our scheduling? What amenities do they want to add as part of that? I'd say about 98% of our clients also offer an MPI as part of that. So that gets scheduled with our call center team. They will tell the consumer while the vehicle's here for the recall repair, which is absolutely free and no cost to you, would you like for us to perform a multi-point inspection, right? Which is about protecting the consumer's assets, not about upselling into stuff that they don't need. That's an old practice that doesn't work, and I'd advise against it. But helping a consumer protect a vehicle asset, that's smart. That's your responsibility as a dealership to really help protect the brand, protect that consumer in their investment. So all of these things together combined are going to ultimately deliver those vehicles in your service drive. And that's when your experience begins. Because at that point, now it's up to you guys.
Zero moment of truth. Zima.
Zero moment of truth. In fact, one of the things I want to share. So this is something that we provide, obviously, to be branded for your dealership and your brand. and you can include whatever denomination you want to. But as part of the annoyance of having to take care of this recall and go into the dealership, like, I know it's tough for us to really accept, but the average consumer does not want to service their vehicle. And if they do, they really are a little apprehensive to service at the dealership. So this can be, to some degree, viewed as an annoyance for the average consumer. Okay, everybody's. In fact, we did a consumer survey a couple years ago. They view recalls as somewhat of an inconvenience, but they don't blame the dealership. In fact, they see it as a natural offset to the manufacturing process. So they don't even blame the OEM. They know that they need to take care of these cars. And if we're looking out for them and being transparent about it, they're actually okay with it. Not a day at Disneyland, but I'm okay with bringing my vehicle in if it means safety. And while they're there, your service advisors will be able to say, you know, I want to thank you for bringing your car in for this very necessary repair, to show you how much we appreciate you and looking out for vehicle safety. We'd like to offer you this gift card that you can use for additional servicing at some point in the future at our dealership. Okay. So what a wow factor to say, you know, thank you for bringing in the car, but we want to really put our money where our mouth is and give you this gift card. Okay. So imagine the vehicle goes through its multi-point inspection. There's things there that need to be repaired because who knows how old this car is and what else could be wrong with it. More than 52% of the consumers are using this card or deciding to pay out of pocket for additional services. So these recall customers are not just cheapskates that want to get free servicing. They're coming in to really evaluate your deliverables, and they're looking at the experience and saying, do these people really provide me an exceptional level of servicing that I can't get at an independent repair shop? So, and that was very important.
Here's the cool part on the consumer end, is that it's when the data shows that they're not faulting the OEM or the dealer. That's quite a bit different than a check engine light coming on or a car going into limp mode, where now they're angry and they're frustrated. In most of these cases, there's an underlying condition that affects their safety and or performance that they don't even know about, but you brought it to their attention and then added value with a gift card.
Right.
I like it.
No, I mean, it's really all about rolling out the red carpet for these consumers, you know, and giving them a reason to not only take care of a recall, but to come back for repeat servicing. In fact, 6 to 9% of these recall customers will purchase their next vehicle from you within 12 months. Believe it or not, that's an awful lot of vehicles when there's actually inventory. Maybe not today, but at some point inventory is coming back, and you're going to use. In fact, I heard this from my good friend Dave Foy. Like the front half of the store sells the first car, the back half of the store sells everyone after that, and that's absolutely right. The service and the care that you're providing those customers as part of that consumer experience, having things like a gift card that do kind of put your money where your mouth is to show what it takes to retain these customers over the lifespan of their car shopping experience. In fact, we've taken these products, so this retention product, we had a number of dealers come to us and say, this works great. We love this. This is a point of service deliverable that our service advisors can use. But what can you do to go reach out into the community and touch customers that maybe we sold to but never serviced, right? All those S&S customers that, you know, they bought a car, but we haven't seen them since. Or those customers that maybe serviced for the first couple years, or when the warranty expired, you know, flock to the independents. Well, we have a product now called R Plus. That's the big banner behind me. That takes a similar strategy, and it's a direct mail piece. It's not only, again, completely customized to meet the needs of what the dealer wants to offer, right? The discount amount could be anywhere from $25 to $100, depending on your brand and what fits your profile of consumer. But you can offer service discounts, you can offer parts discounts, you can offer sales incentives. It's completely customizable for you to roll out that custom experience, right? So we direct mail this first class. It also includes some additional emails and other cadence. And when you read and so there's a nice message in there about but this card right here is an actual credit card style gift card. It's even got a little chip right here, or a faux chip, because it's not a real chip, but to the average consumer, it feels like a Visa card, right?
Sure.
And right here, we're customizing the card with their name. So this is an embossed card, credit card style, that yields a ton of return. In fact, so this product we actually rolled out 2 years ago, and it was reserved for existing clients. In the past 2 months, we've opened it up to every and any dealer. You do not have to be a Recall Suite Solutions client. You could just decide that you want to run a campaign with a gift card and reach out to whatever profile type of customer you want to appeal to, and deliver the message that you want to deliver to. In fact, right now it's probably the time of year where you start thinking about the holidays, but throughout the year, there's all kinds of incentives that you're running, all kinds of promotions that you're running. This beginning past January was the first time that we opened up to 12-month campaigns and we've had dealers that come back every quarter to run a new card campaign. So this R Plus it leverages the data that we have and the technology and our ability to create really compelling marketing pieces. But really at the end of the day, it's about getting those vehicles in the service drive. And that's what we're going to hold our hat on to every time that we're working with the dealerships, is to provide products like this that really drive service revenue. Yes, it's been recalls, but we've kind of breaking the model outside of that as well, to recognize there's so much opportunity out there for dealerships.
And the beauty of it is you've not tied up so much as one dealership personnel when they're already hurting for dealership personnel.
Yeah, no, I mean, the one thing is, we've been very accustomed. Every dealership's different, every market's different, every brand is different. Not only the amount of staff, but what staff does. And so that's really where we start with the kickoff meeting, working with the dealership to really understand what are the kinds of things that they want to do more of. Like, we are a completely outsourced solution. However, we have a number of BDCs within our client base that say, we want to do more, so we can do things like, this is all part of the solution suite, though. You could take, say, the last 6 months of service to clients, run them through a recall check. A certain percentage of those, probably anywhere between 10 to 12%, are going to have recalls. What a better way to get those cars back into the service drive, to repair that recall and check to see if that required servicing got done. Because you'll end up with clients that are like, well, I want to do that transmission flush, but how long can I wait? Can I wait a couple of months? Okay, so let's check if they did that. And so when we bring those vehicles back in for recall repair, you can check to see if they've had the service done and advise them then. And in fact, they'll have that gift card and say, can I use this to take care of that transmission flush now? Of course you can. So there's all kinds of ways we're creating those relationships for repeat visits, and selling ancillary products. They get connected. All of this becomes interconnected. So recalls, yes, that's what we're most known for, but we realize this is all about retention and those relationships that are built on good servicing and what your dealership is doing to create an exceptional level of service. So these things all work together.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sean, for sharing.
You are welcome. And anybody that wants to know more, like, I don't sell you anything. We're just talking. We're just informing, sharing. I'll show you what other dealerships like yours, brands just like yours, and markets just like yours, I'll show you what they're doing. and, put some compelling numbers in front of your face. And at a moment, somewhere down the road, when you're in the market to get serious about doing more comprehensive recall management, I hope you call us.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate it.
When we first launched RecallMasters, we had a record-setting month.
The results have been fantastic.
The ROI is amazing.
The numbers just don't lie.
All in all, it's been great success for us.
A lot of times we have the address of the customer that originally bought the car, and we don't know that that car is passed on to another owner, or sometimes even 2 or 3 owners.
The ability to track that car after the first transaction is very difficult to do. And RecallMasters, with the amount of data they aggregate, they do a great job identifying those cars in the marketplace and connecting us to them through their recall program.
RecallMasters has actually increased our RO volume, brought back customers that we haven't seen in 2, 3, 4 years. And now we're getting a second opportunity to get them in the service, build new relationships, and definitely turn the experience around that they've had in the past.
We're RecallMasters disciples at this point. I recommend them to any dealer that we work with.
Revenue's there, the car count's there, the numbers just don't lie.
We're on the RecallMasters team and intend to be for quite a while.